Hello, everybody. Thank you all very much. Always appreciate you guys. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. Welcome to my top 10 worst movies of 2025. 2025 was an awesome year for movies. In the previous video, I talked about my favorites of the year, but we also had some pretty bad ones. We had some stinkers, some disappointments, and some of these are just flat out pieces of shit, especially the ones at the bottom of the list. And so, please remember this is completely subjective. If you disagree, it's okay. Life will go on. I'm just nobody talking movies. You don't have to take my opinion or, anything concrete because it's not concrete. It's just my little old opinion. So, you can take it or you can leave it. Either way, I'm about to give it. So, without further ado, here we go. Number 10, Happy Gilmore 2. I am a fan of the original. For me, it's a 90s comedy classic and one of Sandler's better comedies. So, when they announced this one, I have to admit, I did have a little bit of hope. They were bringing back Shooter McGavin. They brought back Ben Stiller's character from the first movie. But unfortunately, those Ben Stiller parts are the only ones that gave me the slightest chuckle. Other than those parts, this is a very unfunny, just another piece of crap, cash grab, nostalgia bait movie. Another unfunny Netflix movie from Sandler. And a movie that's not funny for the majority of the runtime is just a waste of time. And it feels like one of those episodes of a TV show that's like a clip show because throughout the whole movie, they're showing you nothing of clips. It's like a greatest hits of all the best parts of the original. So, it's like, remember this, remember that, but you forgot about this. Ha ha ha. No, not ha ha ha. More like bullshit. Number 9, Love Hurts. Another one I was looking forward to. I like a good martial arts movie. I like Ke Huy Quan. So it kind of hurts me to put this one on this list. His story is so damn inspiring. He was going to quit acting. Then he gets everything everywhere all at once. Wins the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. So watching this, it's kind of cool to see him living his dream, playing a hero, beating up bad guys, and getting the girl at the end and kissing the girl and all that. But in the movie, it's just not all that convincing when they try to make him to be this badass ex-hitman by giving him this little thin mustache. And the action scenes, even though for the most part they can be kind of decent, there's just too many parts where he's fighting a bad guy, another bad guy is whipping some ass, really like whipping ass, and then when they fight him, it's like they kind of slow down a bit just so he can, have the advantage to actually look kind of convincing when it's not all that convincing sometimes. About half the time it is, half the time it's not. And you got parts where somebody is shooting a gun at somebody, like a shotty up close, and it's got a good spread, those shotguns. So, most people will get shot in a situation like that. But no, not in this movie. In this movie, it's just duck, move. They can avoid shotgun blasts like it's nothing. And yeah, it's just not believable. Number 8, The Cleaner. A Die Hard style action thriller that could have been a good movie but falters in the execution. You have Daisy Ridley as this British ex-military person that works as a window washer, and while she's at work, her autistic brother is inside, during which eco-terrorists crash this party, take hostages, trying to expose this company for their corruption and for the harm they're causing to the planet. You got Clive Owen, who I really like, who is completely wasted in this movie. And for about 3/4 of the film, you got Daisy Ridley's character just outside dangling on a scaffold while the terrorists are doing their thing. And so it's just a boring movie. It could have been so much better had they let Daisy Ridley's character in the building a lot sooner. I think this movie could have been saved, but poor screenwriting, poor, decision making. Number 7, The Electric State, a sci-fi adventure from the Russo brothers that stars Chris Pratt and Millie Bobby Brown. Takes place in an alternate 1990s where there was a war between robots and humanity after a robot uprising. The robots are banished to what's called the EZ zone, and Millie Bobby Brown's character is trying to get there to find her little brother with the help of Chris Pratt, who is still doing the same old Star-Lord shtick. By now it's really old, not funny, the humor falls flat, the action is generic, this movie feels bloated, and just, yeah, it gets boring, especially after the first act. You just kind of wait for things to happen, and it just kind of meanders. And yeah, the whole movie kind of feels like it's trying to be another Ready Player One. Just doesn't work. Number 6, Snow White. Now I want you guys to know something. I am not an automatic hater of these live action Disney remakes. I think they shouldn't be doing them as often as they are. And about half the time for me they work, half the time they don't. I enjoyed 2015's Cinderella. I thought that was well done. I enjoyed Cruella. I thought The Little Mermaid was all right, and I thought Beauty and the Beast was okay. But this right here, this is a man. Oh, uh, it's just a cash grab. It's a cash grab. It's very ill-conceived. You got Gal Gadot, who is very poorly cast in the part of the evil queen, and as much as she tries, she just doesn't stick to landing when it comes to performance. And Rachel Ziegler, I thought she was all right, but the third act of the movie really falls apart, and the idea of these CGI dwarfs, could have worked maybe if the CGI looked decent, but it looks awful. These things aren't even dwarfs. They look more like gnomes that you see in front of somebody's home. Number five, The Pickup, an action comedy that had the potential to be a good movie because, admittedly, there are some moments of sweet action in there, and it does star one of the all-time greats, Eddie Murphy, who lately has been feeling more like his old Eddie Murphy self in his more recent films, but it pairs him with the most obnoxious, annoying person, Pete Davidson, and I'm sorry, he's just not funny to me. I don't like his brand of humor. The story in this, you got two armed guards played by Murphy and Davidson who are taking a shipment of money in this armored truck that's being hijacked by some really idiot criminals. And when you have bad guys that just don't feel threatening, the action doesn't really feel all that exciting. So this could have been way better, and ultimately it's just really dragged down by Pete Davidson, who when you're trying to be funny with these lame fart jokes, it just comes off lazy. So yeah, this just really disappointed me to the point where I was just pissed off by the end of it. Number four, Wolfman. For those of you that don't know, I'm a huge fan of the black and white classic Universal monster movies, and the Wolfman just happens to be my personal favorite. For me, the 1941 classic that stars Lon Chaney Jr. can never be touched, and I even really dug the 2010 remake, which I know a lot of people didn't really care for that one, but I thought that Joe Johnston did a good job directing that movie, and I thought it was all right. But this right here, this is just terrible. This is obviously a very low budget kind of production with a Wolfman that hardly even looks like the Wolfman. He's got like 10 hairs on his face. Really, really crappy look. I kind of dug the whole Shining type of angle on the story with a mother trying to protect her daughter from the husband slash father slash crazed Wolfman, but it goes nowhere when it comes to the action in the film. They run from the shed to the barn, house, back to the barn, back to the shed, and it's just, yeah, it gets very old very quickly. So yeah, it's very obviously a low budget attempt at making a modern, spin on a classic character, but yeah, I just couldn't stand this movie. Number three, Playdate, an action comedy that could have been good because it has some fun people in it. Kevin James, Alan Ritchson. So you got Paul Blart Mall Cop teaming up with Jack Reacher himself. So yeah, it could have been a fun time, right? Wrong. In the action department, it's just okay. In the comedy department, it's weak as hell and not funny. And when you watch a comedy, you want at least a couple of laughs, but not once throughout this movie did I even remotely chuckle. Alan Ritchson is kind of amusing at times, but it's not enough. And the movie feels very cheap at times, especially when in this one sequence it has to do with clones. To disguise the lack of effects, they put masks on all the clones so that we can't tell what they're it's just a poor attempt to do clones in the movie, and yeah, it's just really bad. Number two, Flight Risk. To think that this is from the same man that gave us Braveheart is just freaking baffling, because we all know that Mel Gibson can direct a good movie, and I enjoy movies where they take place in enclosed areas, and it forces the filmmakers to be more creative and stuff, but not in this case. And yeah, it's just a bad performance from Mark Wahlberg, which really brings the movie down to the point where it's just god awful. The plot is not bad. You got this female cop escorting Topher Grace, this criminal that's gonna testify against some other criminals, but they got Mark Wahlberg infiltrates this little plane and takes over the plane. Then he gets himself beat up by the lady cop, and it doesn't really go anywhere. It's just very predictable, and like I said, Mark Wahlberg is terrible, and we know he can be a good villain if you've ever seen 1996's Fear, but not in this case. Now, before I get to my number one, I just want to quickly preface this with saying that I do not go out of my way to watch bad movies, and so there are a lot of movies that you won't find on this list that you'll see on other people's lists, like, you know, like Five Nights at Freddy's 2. That's just not my thing. I wasn't into the first one, so I'm not gonna go out of my way to watch that, and I'm not gonna go out of my way to watch that really shitty movie with The Weeknd that came out because, I checked out that show he did on HBO. So fool me once, fool me twice. You know how the saying goes. Not gonna do it. And so yeah, I don't go out of my way to watch things that I already know are gonna be crap. Like I avoided that War of the Worlds with Ice Cube because obviously it was gonna be shit. So yeah, those probably would have made this number one spot on the list had I watched them. But again, didn't watch them. However, I did watch me some Tyler Perry movies this year, and the guy had four movies that came out in 2025. And I could have picked all four of those movies and put them on the list, but I didn't want to be that cruel. So I just picked one. So one makes the cut. Is it Straw? Could have been Straw, not Straw. Is it Medea's Destination Wedding? Nope. Was it Finding Joy? Nope, not Finding Joy, which leaves just one left. My number one worst movie of 2025, according to me, Duplicity. All right. So a lot of his movies feel like, bad made for TV, Hallmark movies or, Lifetime television for women movies from the 90s. And this movie is no exception, but at least halfway through the movie, I thought, this is okay. For Tyler Perry, it looks like, okay, maybe he's trying to make a decent thriller. Maybe he's trying to play it straight. Nope. So you have some of the worst acting in any movie of last year in this movie. Some of the editing and some of the choices for some of the editing is questionable, as usually is with Tyler Perry movies. But it really is the third act where the movie flies completely off the rails and gives you something that is just so fucking stupid because it's a twist just for the sake of a twist. And there's more than one twist. And the first couple twists, I thought, okay, I kind of like that. Then you get to the second twist, and I thought, all right, you're reaching, but all right, I'm still kind of with you, all right. But then the final twist, that's when I said, fuck you. No, you are not doing this. Really, you're doing this? You gotta watch the movie to know what I'm talking about. But they have the balls to give you this story that kind of seems like it's gonna be, serious with this black guy going for a jog. He gets, the cops called on him because he's between some houses, and so, cop comes up, points the gun, he's pulling out his phone, he has his headphones on, he can't hear anything, he gets shot to death. And so for a minute you think, all right, you're doing something, topical, you're doing something that might be, a good message here. You're gonna do some kind of social messaging, and it turns it into just the most crappiest, most boringest soap opera bullshit. Like I said, horrible acting. You got the wife of, the guy that died, who is a news reporter. You got her friend who is a lawyer who is helping her friend out, and one thing leads to another. It's kind of like this web of lies, web of deception with people around them that they know, and you just got to check it out for yourself. It's one of those movies that you just got to see to believe, and I highly encourage anybody, if you enjoy a bad movie just for the sake of a bad movie, check it out. If you're really not sure about it, if you're not really believing me, you got to see it to believe it. And there you have it, my top 10 worst movies of 2025. Thank you all very much for watching this video. I appreciate you hanging out with me for a little bit. And I'll see you guys in the next list video or on the next classic movie review. Take care of each other. Till next time, peace out. God bless.